Alright, today we're gonna take a little look at the most informational site in the world, the most trusted source on the internet, Reddit itself, from the Overwatch r/Overwatch subreddit. This guy said, "Got told this loss was my fault. Could anyone tell me how it's possible to come to this conclusion? I'm the ball," and posted this screenshot of the leaderboard and then just a picture of them getting flamed by their team. Which, yeah, so there was this is not to flame anyone, this video, but there's a common misconception that I want people to know. Um, and this is something that I used to think too, that took a while, that nobody really tells you in game, because like a lot of like bronze, a silver, even sometimes gold, like people will play like this, and no one tells you, like everyone agrees because it's like they don't know any better. So there's a comment here, the most upvoted comment on here that a lot of people are agreeing with. There are some other comments as well that went with it, that we're trying to talk about how to play dive, essentially, or that dive is bad, or they misunderstood the whole concept of playing dive. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. Whether you're a support or a DPS or tank main, I think anybody can benefit from this. So he starts out by saying, and again, this isn't to flame or anything, like saying, oh, they're stupid. It's just, this is just something that, like, people will, you won't know any better unless someone tells you about it. So hopefully you can just I'm just gonna go over this and show a little, some things that uh just aren't right, honestly. So things about the team's configuration on this map, right? Think of the game for a moment, like a game of football. Both teams lined up waiting for their quarterback to start the play in ideal formation. Um, so to a certain degree, yes. Like, obviously this is not the part that I disagree with. Like, yeah, your tank is like your quarterback. They're coming out. They're gonna lead everything, like taking space. Where your team's gonna position somewhat is dictated from how your tank plays. So enemy wave wants frontline. Ryan wants frontline. This frontline term is something that people really don't understand, right? So enemy May does not want frontline. Ryan will be the technical frontline as the farthest forward person in the group. Sure, what they mean to say, I think, is that they are both brawl characters and excel at close range. Therefore, they want to be like aggressive up close and personal into the enemy team. Lucio wants frontline to heal and speed boost. Lucio wants to be close to the Rhine so that he can get the speed boost, right? Because Rhine does a lot of damage at close range with his hammer. Therefore, he if he has the speed boost, it allows him to track down targets quicker and just bulldoze the enemy team. He can get to whatever targets he wants to, and they can't run away as easily, and he can hit them with the hammer sooner. That's all good. So Bastion wants frontline, and not really, no. For shielding and Lucio boost, he doesn't really benefit from Lucio boost. Uh, I mean, everybody does to a certain degree, but like he's more of a poke character. The Rhine shield does help though. It can, for like going back for pressure. Ana wants backline, but not too far since you have flankers. Again, this is dive that they're talking about. So yes, she's going to be playing a solid unit, tightly knit. Yeah, they're playing a brawl deathball comp in brawl, essentially. Like they're all going to be playing right next to each other. So meanwhile, you're ball, so you're likely on a flank looking for health to dive again. I don't think this really even means anything. So the tracer is a classic flanker. Like what did the ball do before this? They're just rolling around the map, like looking for health to dive. Did they dive in? Did they do anything? Did they just like grapple and roll past through the team and then just roll away? Like I don't know what this is trying to say here, right? And then Tracer is a classic flanker, so neither of those are close to your front line. This is the misconception, right? All right, so I'm gonna draw you a picture, a beautiful picture in this thing known as MS Paint, which I am also very, very terrible at. I am not an artist. I'm the guy whose handwriting you can't even read. Okay, so we're gonna draw a little picture of the first point on Junkertown here, right? So you have spawn for the attacking team, right? You have this building over here. You have this smaller building over here. You have this bridge that goes across, and then you have this building back here. This little bridge that goes into another smaller building, right? This is somewhat, you know what I mean. I hope you do at least, or this is not going to make any sense at all. But if you go look at Junker Town first point, right, this is the spawn for them coming in, right? Let's say the payload is right here. The enemy team is pushing out with their Rhine. They have the two DPS, two supports. I mean, their Ano's possibly going to go off to this staircase is the only thing, or okay, so you're more than likely, right? Your team is either going to be playing back. Well, normally you'd be playing back here for a lot of things, but if you're playing dive, you're probably going to be like sitting up here, right? And then your Cassidy and your Ana will either be over here or they'll be over here, depending on how they decide they feel like playing, right? So your ball comes in here, right? He dives into the enemy team. Your tracer is going to follow with him, right? He's going to hit this first, right? They might be underneath here, they might be back here, they might be over here, or they may start from up here. I don't know, right? But essentially, but the ball goes and initiates the fight however he would, right? The tracer goes and her job is to, say the Ana gets pooped up in the air from their hamster. He calls it out, okay, Ana, focus Ana, and he starts shooting this Ana while she's booped up in the air. Now the Tracer is going to blink in, right, and like shoot at her as well. They're both going to target. This is now your front line. Your Moira's sitting up here, your Ana's sitting up here, your Cassidy's sitting up here. This is still your front line. What people misunderstand is like, oh well, you need your tank to be like over here playing on the ground because I'm going to be Ana over here playing on the ground. This is not front, this doesn't need to be your front line. Like if you're sitting over here waiting for the payload to come to you and then that's a bad decision. Like why would you do that? You have a wrecking ball and a tracer that are going to go in. You're going to get a kill, and then based on their assessment of the situation, they will either get out if they need health and wait on their cooldowns, or they will go back, or they will continue and try to get a second pick, right? That's and then the Cassidy is sitting here at mid range and he is just shooting shots from here, right, at whatever targets they are. Hopefully, like this is optimal gameplay, right? I mean, it may not happen, but this is optimal, right? Your wrecking ball and your tracer are targeting one person, and then your Cassidy is shooting at them from a medium distance because I think it's what 30 meters that he starts to get a drop off, right? Your Ana has plenty of range, so she can sit back here, or she can sit over here. If your Cassidy's here, she probably wants to be here in case any flankers come up. He can just throw a grenade at them, and they die. And the same thing with the Moira here. Like that's a really safe position for her to be in right here. Especially if you see that their team is a brawl comp, and then it's like, well, they can't get to me anyways. I mean, unless the Mei like builds an ice wall up to me. But then she also leaves her team, and So, meanwhile, Kelsey wants the front line. Uh, or no, I think. Yeah, yeah. So we're here, Tracer's classic flankers. Neither of you are close to their front line. Like again, this is so yeah. Basically, what I'm saying is this is your front line, right? They are all focused on you. Like they are focused on your tank. They are focused. This is your front line. Why would this not be your front line? This is they're in there. They're going ham. They're killing people. They're being focused. And then you can sit here and take shots with the Ana and the Cassidy can sit back here, and your Moira can either walk up here and do the little sucky on them, or she can like throw a damage orb in or a healing orb, and she's probably more than likely going to sit back here, right? Or she can jump off and like play to play to try to kill some of their squishies with your team, and then like fade back up here if she gets in trouble. Or she can just sit up here and sort of play the protector, like Brig if someone comes close, then yeah, otherwise I'll just use my ranged abilities when I have them up. So, so he wants Streaky Grenade, do his quick shot thing, assuming that's Fat and the Hammer. That's only for really shredding tanks. You don't really use that any other time. Sticky Grenade is good for close range, but that he actually excels at mid range. He's a mid range character. That's why they buffed his damage drop off range being longer now. I think it was from 25 to 30 meters, so that he can actually like be a more mid-range. He doesn't play at closer ranges as much. Now he's good at still at close range, sure, but like only if he has his magnetic grenade. Otherwise, like other close range Reaper, like players like Reaper are going to do better, right? They throw some magnetic grenade, Reaper wraiths. Reaper does like fades out. He can like hit two easy shots on the Cassidy and he's dead. Um, it's more his magnetic grenade is good against like really hard to track targets like Tracer or Genji, right? If they get up in his face, but he'd still be better at facing both of those people. What at long range, right? He is or like a mid range, sorry, because he's better at mid range and they're not better at mid range. They're better at like up close and personal. Um, Okay, so where were we? Keston wants front lines. No. He wants to be healed. Well, yeah, you can do that anywhere though. Ana wants backline, maybe an off angle. Like again, your backline is wherever your Ana is. So if your Ana or Moira are up here and your Cassidy, then they are your technical backline. Um, Moira wants to front line, and I mean I kind of talked over her options already. So in our game of football, Cassidy, Ana, maybe Moira are the only things the enemy has from stopping them pushing deeper into the map. This is how I know that this person plays low ground wherever they would sit behind like a brawl tank that in low elo that's where like everybody would hold this corner, right? Where like you're thinking like, oh, Moira, Cassidy and Ana are sitting here, why would they sit here if your team is over here? Why not come here where Cassidy is close enough to shoot them when they come out of spawn? Your Ana can have a clear line of sight onto both of uh your dive heroes, and your is up here with your Cassidy and Ana, who or Cassidy and Moira, who can both do things here, right? They can like your Moira can heal everybody, both of you up here, and then the Ana can also throw nades into the enemy team. Like this is the perfect position to be, and then everybody just focuses whatever like they're diving. There's like they're under the impression that if you sit up here and they push the payload from here to like here, that somehow that's going to lose you the game. Like if you kill them all, like by the time they reach this point, then the payload just moves back. They come back out, and then you just do it again. Like people are so obsessed with lower elos, with doing things like just sitting on the payload. Like I remember in Overwatch 1 when we'd sit with both like the two shields on top of the payload right here, and we try to hold it in front of the spawn door because it's like, oh well, if they move it 1 inch, we might lose. But if we don't move it 1 inch, it's like no, there's more strategy than just like, oh, they move the payload 2 inches. If the better strategy, if you're more likely to lose the fight, like way more likely to lose the fight if you're holding up here, why hold up here, right? You shouldn't. No matter if they get they don't get any. Like, let me put it this way: if they don't move it at all during the team fight, but then they wipe your team, they get to move it all the way over here, right before you get another team fight. If they do, like, if they move the team it all the way over here, but your team has already like killed 3 of them, right? By the time it gets to here, then they just go and they finish the last two, and then the payload moves back because you won. We can reel those. Okay, so okay, there are only things shoot at while you and your tracer are flanking, or I get into position. Again, so there's two things that contradict actually in this, right? So they're stopping them from pushing deeper into the map, which means that they're playing on defense. Because if you're playing on offense, why the fuck would you need to stop them from getting deeper into the map? Like I don't like you are the ones needing to go deeper into the map. All right, they only shoot at while you and Trace are in flanking more get into position. They're already in position though because they're on defense. And if they're on offense, then don't peek out? Question mark? Like wait for them to engage and then peek out and help your team? I don't. So they can't even participate in the fight until the enemy team is distracted. Yeah, that's how engagements work. Like that's how dive works. You go in and engage, and then everybody goes and is distracted by a flanker because they're so outnumbered. Yeah, so that's so if you're not going to be playing a flank character with or like with dive, right? Like a dive character with dive, then yeah, you're going to be like the Cassidy shouldn't peek out here if his Wrecking Ball and Tracer are both like regenning. Then yeah, just sit back and wait a second, and then they come right back in and they're healed up and they go and dive again, and then he peeks out and starts like engaging with them. They're very fast, short engagements, is what dive is. That doesn't make them bad because there's not like people. Okay, so here's another thing: is like people will if you're shooting at the enemy team and you have to stop for any second, people will be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not contributing." Like I stopped shooting at the enemy team. I like didn't like I'm critical sitting behind cover or like I'm reloading and I'm sitting behind cover. Oh, this is like I'm wasting time. Like just shooting random pot shots at the enemy team while you like your tank isn't there to take their distraction. It's not like helpful unless you think you can get picks with it. You're probably just going to get absolutely blown up by five of them because they don't have anything else to shoot at. But that doesn't mean it's bad. That means just you shoot when your team is engaging, and then yeah, you're more likely to win that fight if you're all diving and focusing the same team together or the same characters. So, did you benefit from this team comp? Yes. Did Tracer? Kind of. What do you like? Tracer is just as much of a dive character as Wrecking Ball. They're very much both solely dive characters. How would Tracer not benefit from this? But Wrecking Ball would, right? Did Moira? Not really true. Did Cassidy? No, but yeah, he's a mid-range character. He's plays better with poke. Okay with brawl. Did Ana? Yes, yes. No, like because she has low mobility. No, you just like people just have bad positioning because they'd be sitting over here and be like, "How is my Wrecking Ball being over here, helping me over here?" And it's like, well, you can shoot him from here, but you should be over here or over here so you can shoot them from a safety, and then guess what? The enemy team can't hit you unless the Mei's shooting icicles or the Rhein's throwing fire strikes. But guess what? Your ball is in here. So either they're looking at your ball and you can freely like shoot at them, or they're not looking at your ball and they're looking at you, in which case your ball just gets free kills and doesn't need to get healed and you win anyways. Right? Like there's just these things that people just don't think about. Uh, because it's not what's taught by people of the same ranks, right? Like it's people just as you start to go up and play with other people, you start to learn from them, like how things work, and that's why like a lot of people, if you don't watch guides, then you don't really understand all of this, and even like a lot of guides, I think don't explain this too well. Guess if you been a frontline tank, if you had been a frontline tank instead, everyone on your team would have had a better time. Not true. Tracer wouldn't have been focused more. Again, you're wrecking ball. You're going in. You're engaging. Then the tracer is coming in to target whoever you're going with, right? So you are the main target. You're the one going in first, right? If she gets shot at any point, then she just uses recall and can get out at literally any moment. But how is someone shooting at the person that she's trying to shoot bad? The answer is it's not. It's much easier. Trust me, when you hit around plat 2-ish, uh, people start going like a lot, but more people will start playing like Genji Doomfist or Tracer Winston, and it is a nightmare to play against if you're playing support. It is so annoying because people like having two people on you, right? You can't just like sleep one of them if you're playing Ana. You just can't, like that's why like people like Kiriko will be a lot better because you can just teleport away from like both of them. But like a lot of even like BAP will be like it's a lot harder to deal with two people on you instead of one. And if you haven't played with that because you're in bronze or silver, then then it doesn't really matter. Like you're not gonna know that, right? Like because you just haven't played against it. So yeah, I wouldn't expect people to know it. I didn't know it for the longest time. It was just the more you play against it, the more you realize how strong it is and realize how to play with it. You learn how to play with it and how to play against it from that. So Cassidy would have another body for the enemy to shoot. Or be shielded by. I mean, it's again, are you just like this is an Overwatch one? We aren't just throwing up shields. Like this is You don't just play shield tanks to hold up shields. That's not how shield tanks are even played anymore. Ana would have been able to heal you regularly. She still can. Plus, Wrecking Ball doesn't really need to be healed regularly because he's Wrecking Ball. He can just zoom around the map. He has adaptive shields. And he can reach health packs very easily and quickly. Alternatively, your team could have switched to better fit your team. True, Cassidy isn't getting any value. Maybe, but maybe not. Farah, yeah, depending on your playstyle, could. Ana goes Pocket Mercy. No, I mean Mercy's decent for dive, but like Ana is actually better. You completely give up on the idea of front line and back line. No, you just don't understand what the like. People just don't understand what front line and back line means. Like you can be here, your Wrecking Ball and Tracer dive in here. They are frontline. Now you are backline. Like frontline backline isn't really a thing. If you're diving backline, that literally just means wherever the supports are, you're diving them. That's all that means, right? Um, or Tracer and no, it's just their inner circle and your outer circle. No, you're literally balls deep inside their team, and then the other people are helping you from a range. Um, or your Tracer and Moira switch it to a more simple front line, back line. Again, you're just making up these things. Like Tracer goes Soldier or Torbjorn, Moira goes Bap, Lucy, or even Moira is fine. You're just listing off like they're just listing off random people like that. I like literally anyone that's not dive. This is who you should be playing. Like no, that's not true. That it just seems like they don't understand how any dive characters work, so they just list off anyone that's not dive, like all of these people. Well, I mean, Lucio's kind of dive-ish. Um, if more in the higher relos when people know like wall ride and whatnot and uses mobility more. No, now all of a sudden you have more survivability because they have more bodies to divide enemy focus. No, and more heals because they're all in one place. Like they're all either here, Wrecking Ball and Tracer, or they're here. Like the Moira heals the Cassidy, and then the Ana just heals the other two. And then the Moira can throw a healing orb if she needs to, or damn it, like. But they probably don't need it. Why? Because Wrecking Ball is super good at self-sustain. Tracer is super good at self-sustain because they're dive characters. They have very good sustain and mobility. That's the whole thing. That's the whole point. Um, Yeah, so leaving you free to surprise the enemy who now has to engage with your team's front line. Again, this is the front line right here. Like, they seem to think like Wrecking Ball is only supposed to pop out here during a fight when all of the team is focused on the squishies. If all the team is focused on the squishies are probably just gonna die, right? Like, they have plenty of cover though if they're up here. If they're over here, then Ryan can just pin in and literally just kill them. Like, they have a speed boost, Lucio too, so they can literally just like. Here's another thing of the cart, right? If they leave the cart, say their Ana and Cassidy are playing right here, Lucio speed boosts them. They go up over this staircase that's here and drop on top of them, kill them, go to point. They win that fight. It's another spot where like playing the objective here does nothing for them if they can come up and like kill these two for being out of position because they are out of position and don't know how to play with the rest of their team, right? Like playing the objective, it's a lot better to win the team fight than go move the objective than to move the objective and then like lose the team fight and then it's at the same spot, right? Which people will not tell you. It's not something that you're used to because everybody's playing, as Flat says, perfect Overwatch, right? We all sit in a nice little death ball, we sit on the objective. The enemy team sits in a nice little death ball here, and then we just kind of butt heads on the objective until one person like loses and we just throw ultimates at each other. That's how Overwatch 1 worked with double shield meta, and yeah, it was just that's why we have 5v5 now. Okay, so either way, your team isn't fitting with each other, both the characters and the players. It's just the luck of the draw. Also, Bastion and Mei are fantastic counters to ball. Mei, yes. Bastion, not. I mean, is kind of just a counter to any tank. It's really just a matter of playing around his tank form. Not hard engaging when he has tank form up and then waiting for the tank form, and then he's a lot less useful in sentry mode. And that's just how you play around Bastion. You swing in, Mei slows you down, yes, or puts a wave on prevent you from escape, yes. Bastion mows you down. Again, not if you're doing it well. Ryan pins you down. It definitely possible depending on the how their far away their team is playing. Uh, and again how mobile your Hammond is as to whether he's getting pinned or not. Ana puts you to sleep, yes. So this is the one part that was like there's like what 6 paragraphs or something of like all this stuff that's just completely wrong and misunderstanding the game. But this last part is the only part that actually like should have been in there from the start, and that should have been the only paragraph. So May is like this is what was wrong with this, and not even then like it's not like you can't play into this, but it's what's going to make it very hard. Like they said, like Ana can sleep, May can slow you down, but set up walls, and Lucio can boop you, and if you're like depending on where you are, yeah, the Rhine can pin you. Um, so your team has been seeing you pick has given a hard throw. No. Like this is just wrong. This is why people get hard stuck is because they see something they don't like and they're like, "There's a Doomfist on my team. There's a Hammond on my team. Oh, they're throwing. Like the enemy team countered you, though you still did decently. I mean, maybe you were a good ball in a bad place. Like you can't tell from stats, right? Like they don't sell everything. But this ball was not dying much. He was still getting all the kills. I mean, like from what I see, more than likely, their Ana and Cassidy did play stupid positions like this, and then just like got rolled because of it, because they were in bad positioning, not because of their ball. Now the problem is, yeah, playing dive into brawl is often like bad. Why? Because if you have Brawl that excels at being really good, right? You dive into here, but they're all together because they're Brawl. They excel at being close range. You have to dive into close range to fight them, and therefore, if they are at close range, then they're more than likely going to do more damage than you. And unless you're better than them, then like an even fight, like Brawl's more likely to win. They just excel at that, like characters like May and Reinhardt. Uh, So if you're playing against dive, where they're sitting back here, or poke, sorry, like long ranged, if it was like Ashe and Widowmaker and Sigma, right? Like then dive is really great because you can just go up. Like they excel at long range, right? Ashe and Widowmaker are not good at close range. So if you just dive with your team and land on top of them, right? Suddenly you have the advantage because you get up close to them very quickly. You close that gap, you kill their team, and again, then you just go to cart, and then, or you have like an Ana that goes and grabs the cart and then heals your team as you're like from afar as you're diving their team. If you're playing Brawl against Poke, right now, this like you don't have a way to get here very easily because they can just sit up on high ground and just poke you down, and then they'll just kill all of your people before you get close enough, right? So that's why Poke counters brawl, brawl counters dive, dive counters poke. Is for those reasons. Not like, oh, you play one, you automatically win the match against the other one. No, but it is somewhat of like a rock paper scissors thing. They're better against each other, right? So hopefully this is a little bit better. This helps people understand this a little bit better. Because again, like no hate to this person or anything, but like it's just something that's thrown around so often that people will say like, oh yeah, they chose Wrecking Ball like in lower elos, and then it'd be like, oh, they're throwing, and that's just not the case. People will be like, oh, why aren't you just sitting here holding up your shield as Reinhardt? That's not how you play Reinhardt, right? Like that's not. The whole thing they're trying to get at here is like their positioning would be bad when they don't know how to play around dive comp. Um, essentially is what it is. So hopefully this is, and I could try to make some actual videos with like gameplay examples of how this works. If people want, but of just like how dive and brawl and um poke all work together, right? If you want, yeah, let me know if anybody even watches this. So hopefully this was a bit entertaining. Hopefully you learned a little bit. I was going to type out this as just a regular Reddit comment, but I figured, screw it. I do Overwatch University reviews. I might as well, I could do another Reddit thing for this, and this one's, just a little bit different, I guess, something else to do. I had like a lot of things that I wanted to clear up in here that because I know it's a thing that like a lot of people agree with, that like, yes, this is, as Flat says, like perfect Overwatch, yeah, everybody sits and just plays the objective as a one giant ball of a team, and then you know smashes into the other giant ball of a team, but that's just not how the game is played. That's just a very, very basic misunderstanding of the game, of how people play it in lower elo, because they don't know how to play it yet. And there's some things that, obviously, there's a ton of shit that I still have to learn. It's not like I'm grandmaster or anything. No, no, like, far from it. But there are things that have helped me, like as I've been climbing, that have helped to learn, and I'm understanding the game a bit better. So yeah, hopefully this helps people, or maybe it was a bit informational or entertaining of whatever type. But maybe this helps you play a little bit better with Dive, and understand a little bit better how Dive works. But anyways, thank you for watching.